Hello everyone, my name is Samarth Thondanoor. I'm 11 years old and like many of you, I have a lot of big questions about life, school and how we can be our best selves. Today I'm so honored to be joined by a very special guest, Mr. Nitesh Kaur. He's an author and the founder of Avanti Schools Trust. He spends a lot of time thinking about how ancient wisdom like the Vedas and the Bhagavad Gita can help us live better lives today. Mr. Nitesh, I've heard you say that the root of education is to draw out what's already within us. That sounds like a pretty cool way to look at school. Thank you so much for being here to answer some of my questions from a kid's perspective.
Thank you, Samarth. Great to be here with you.
I've learned that the Gita means song. If the Bhagavad Gita is a song, what is the main melody or message it's trying to teach us?
Oh, that's a great question. One I think that you might also have an answer to, because I heard you know the Gita pretty well. I think the idea of Krishna speaking the Gita, the idea of it being Krishna's song, the Bhagavad Gita, is like a song might call somebody to them. And in many ways, you can think about the Gita like as Krishna calling us to him. So that's like a real simple way of understanding how somebody might, in this case, Krishna, call us to him.
Thank you. The Vedas are like thousands of years old. How can something written so long ago still help a student living in 2026?
Yeah. Sometimes we might think that something which is really old means that it's out of date and therefore not relevant. So that can be something like that might be something that occurs to us or we may feel. But the truth is that what Krishna is saying in the Gita is timeless in the sense that the message that Krishna is giving is trying to address issues or things that we still continue to face. So, for example, the Bhagavad Gita was set where? I'm only asking you this because I know you know the answer. So, Bhagavad Gita.
Gita was set at the warfield.
Okay, so it's set on the battlefield, right? And Arjun's asking Krishna a question. He's faced with the dilemma. And what's the dilemma?
That all his brothers, aunts, sisters, friends, and mothers and teachers, he has to fight all of them.
Right. So he's faced with a big decision, right? And what's his first response to that decision?
I don't want to do it.
I don't want to do it.
I don't care if they're going to call me a loser, but I just don't want to do it. I don't want to harm them.
Right. So I don't want to harm them. I don't want to do it. I don't want there to be the pain and suffering and all the rest of it. And then I don't want to be part of that, right? So if you think about it, Arjun's question to Krishna, his situation is similar to the situations that we might also face, that we might face a decision that where we feel like, I just don't want to do this.
Because I just don't want.
I just don't want to do it, right? And do you know the title of the first chapter of the Gita?
Atta Pratamodya Arjuna Vishada Yoga.
Right. So Arjuna Vishada Yoga. So Vishad, do you know the meanings of this? No. So Vishad is kind of like almost like depression, right? So like Arjun's sad. So how can that sadness that Arjun feels, how can that be a way of connecting to Krishna? So that's why that first chapter's title is also really important. So when we feel that we've got a big decision, we feel like we might feel sad or not sure what to do, we still all feel that, right? Like those things still happen to us, and that's why the message of the Gita is still.
But I would say as you can take the last thing Krishna said to Arjuna was that you have to keep peace, you have to be calm, and you should fight the war like with being calm. But I would say, how does that help? Because if you look at it, the Kali Yuga, our brains are restless and wanna have one thing or another thing. But how do we like stay calm and not start thinking, okay, this is what we have to do, this is what we have to do?
So again, like Arjun asked that very question, isn't it? Like you use the word restless.
Yeah.
And he says chanchala. Remember, he says the mind is like restless. And he says that he even asks Krishna the question, right? He says, Krishna, you're telling me to control my mind, but the mind is harder to control than the wind.
Yeah.
Right? So like if he's saying that, that's exactly what we experience. But yet Krishna is giving him an answer to that. He's giving him a way to do it. And what is that way? Like, what are the ways in which Krishna's helping Arjun think about, yeah, it is true. It's hard to control the mind, but that's not to say that it can't be controlled. And you remember the text where Krishna is speaking about the mind being our friend
Yes.
or our enemy, right? Chapter 6. So again, like Krishna is saying, you can make the mind your friend.
Or it'll be
Or it will be your enemy, exactly.
So yeah. You studied the Avanti schools to bring spiritual value to education. If Krishna were a principal today, what would his school look like?
Yeah, if Krishna were a principal today, what would his school look like? That's a really good question. I I think I'm not entirely sure, to be honest, but I think there would probably be certain things that he would like to see in his school. I mean, Krishna went to school, right? Do you know where he went to school? Do you remember?
Got the place.
I'll give you a clue.
Yeah.
It starts with A.
I remember.
The second letter is V. And then A. And then N. And then T. And then have you got it here? It's called Avanti. So he went to this place. It was Sandipani Muni's ashram, right? Which is in modern, today it's called Ujjain. But in those days it was called Avanti. That's why we call the trust Avanti.
And that's why your school.
That's why it's called Avanti, right? So he did go to school, and he really liked his time at school. He loved being in that school environment. So, and we actually know from the Bhagavad Purana, or the Srimad Bhagavatam as it's called, what Krishna's time at school was like, and the types of things he studied, and the way in which he studied. And actually, to answer your question more directly, we also know how Krishna teaches. How do we know how he teaches? Because we have the Bhagavad Gita.
Oh yeah.
So he's teaching Arjun, right? So how does Krishna teach Arjun? Like, yeah, go on. You were going to say something?
Like he explains it to him directly and tells him that this is wrong and this is right, and if you do this, it's gonna be more right. And then Arjuna asks him, "Give me an example," and he gives like a million examples. And that
Exactly.
convinces him to do it correctly.
So so you said a few things there. One is that it's a conversation. He's saying something, Arjun's asking clarification. So that idea, that principle of it being a dialogue is really important. It's a really important and sometimes forgotten way of teaching. Like sometimes the idea is that there's a teacher and a student, and the teacher just gives the student some knowledge. But that's not how the Gita is working necessarily. So that's one thing. Another thing is that you can see that Krishna is always leaving Arjun with a choice. He's not saying, do this, do this, do this, and don't do that, don't do that, don't do that.
He's saying you can do this, that's completely right, or you can do this, that's partially right.
Yeah, so he's giving him options, right? And even at the end of the Gita, as you probably know, he's taught Arjun the things that he wants to teach Arjun. And then he says to Arjun, now you need to think about this.
You need to think about this and make your decision.
Exactly. So that's also a really important feature of Krishna's way of teaching, is that the choice has to stay with the student, right? So you have to choose to do something. It's not that you're being forced to do it. So I don't know what his school would look like if he was a principal, but those are certain features that would be there.
That'll be the shot. The Gita says we should focus on getting our work done and not the results. How can I use this when I'm worried about getting a A on a big test?
Yeah.
Like when you say that, okay, you have to focus on the preparation and do the exam, but don't focus on the results. But the entire preparation is to get a higher results, and with the higher results, you're always tensioned about that.
Yeah. But you know, the interesting thing they found in terms of when people are taking exams, and this is why what Krishna said is proved true even today, is that you'll do better in the exam if you're not hyper focused or super focused on the result. So you prepare, you do as much hard work as you can to prepare for the exam. But when you're taking that exam, can you imagine yourself taking that exam, right? Now, if all you're thinking about in that exam is, I want the A, I want the A, I want the A, will you do well in the exam?
No. Because the mind is completely thinking about the A and not the questions that you're answering in the working.
And that's what Krishna is saying, that it's good to be prepared. It's good to try your best. That's what we should do. That's why he says, be attached to doing your duty, but not the fruits or the results of your duty, right? So yeah, you have to try. You have to really try your best and study and all of those things.
Put in all of it.
But when you're taking that exam, you can't be thinking about the A, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it makes sense. And it's true not just for taking an exam, it's also true for when you're working, when you're, whatever else it is that you're doing, is that you have to be focused on the thing that you're doing rather than the result.
Arjuna says the mind is harder to control than the wind. Do you have any Vedic trick for staying focused when the mind wants to wander to video games? I can usually have, well, I'm studying on Olympiad and then my mind is like, oh, you still have TV time remaining. Why don't you go finish the TV time, eat some snacks, and then come and do the homework? And then when I try to do that, I don't feel like doing the homework anymore.
Yeah. And then what do you do to get around that?
I try. Sometimes it works and I go back into homework. Sometimes it just doesn't work.
Yeah. But like, and that's true for everyone. It's true for adults as well as it is for students. And Krishna's approach, or like you said, like the tricks that we might use, this is actually why, when Krishna says, make your mind your friend, not your enemy, this is what he's talking about, is what are the ways in which we can help the mind become our friend. So it's helping us, not fighting against us, right? That's what the difference between friend and enemy is, right? That if we're constantly fighting our minds,
saying, no, I want to do this,
yeah,
then it tries to go against you because it's to become your enemy. But if you support it, but if it's still doing the wrong thing, you support it lightly and try to convince it, like how Krishna convinced Arjuna,
yeah,
it can slowly start being your friend and you can listen to it, it can listen to you.
exactly. And do you remember anything from the Gita which might give us a clue as to what Krishna means by that in terms of how to make the mind a friend? Do you remember anything like that from the? So when Krishna is speaking about this, he's talking. Do you remember the bit where he says, so in response to this question, the mind is more difficult to control than the wind. But Krishna says it is possible. And the two ways he says it's possible, one is practice, right?
Discontrolling.
Practice. And the other one is detachment. So what he means by, well, practice, we know. It's kind of, the fact that you're even practicing as a student means that when you're an adult,
I'll be better at it.
you'll be better at it.
Faster.
But can you imagine as a student if you never practiced?
Then in the adult, I would have to relearn everything again.
It gets harder and harder.
Yeah.
And the truth is, like, when you're learning something,
When you say that I know how to skateboard, but then I learned it. It took me 2 to 3 days. But whenever my dad or mom tries, they're never able to get it.
Well, I was going to use the example of learning Sanskrit verses from the Gita, right? Like, so as a child, you've become really good at learning verses from the Gita. So, but if you left that, if you never did that, and you just tried to do it as an adult, you might have been able to do it, but it would have been longer. It would have been harder.
See, almost every Formula One driver, they're not, like, if you take a look at them, they would have started their go-karting career at 8, 7.
Okay.
Like one of the most famous drivers, like Lewis Hamilton, he started his karting career when he was 4.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
So
wow.
That's how he's winning now.
Okay. So one side is practice. That's clear.
Yeah.
And the other side is detachment. Now, that's a slightly big word in terms of what it means. But if we think about what we were speaking about earlier, the A in the exam, that I'm trying not to focus on that A, the result. That's what Krishna means by detachment. If we try not to focus on the end result, if I just focus on putting in my best effort rather than worrying about the result, if I do that, then that also helps with making my mind my friend. So these two things, practice and detachment.
We all get frustrated sometimes. What does the Gita say that is the best way to handle a bad mood before it turns into a bad day?
A bad mood before it turns into a bad
day.
Day, okay.
It happens a lot. Like, Sometimes I'm angry with my friend, and then it slowly starts getting into me. So the entire day or the entire few days is just like gone. I don't get to feel that happiness.
That's a really nice question. So the approach or the method that I really like from the Gita, it's one of my favorite methods, is when Krishna is speaking about the gunas. So he's talking about sattva gun, rajagun, and tamagun, right? So you mentioned this example of being angry at a friend or something that somebody said. So we know from Krishna's examples in the Gita that that sense of anger, that sense of like feeling,
Frustration.
yeah, exactly, that sense of frustration and anger. Do you know what guna that would be categorized as?
I'm not so sure.
So like Krishna speaks about these gunas and these emotions that are attached to the different gunas, and he says that that is in the mode or the tamagun, so like the lowest possible mood. So now what he's saying is that how do we rise our mood so to prevent it from becoming that mood going into a bad day, so that it doesn't get worse. And the way I like to think about it myself is like a traffic light.
Yeah.
All right. So
You have the red light, the yellow light, and the green light.
okay. So can you guess which one is tamagun?
The red.
The red, right? So what is red? When you're in a car and there's a red light, what does that tell you?
Stop.
Stop. So when we sense that our emotions
Are getting too overwhelmed, we have to stop. But the question is that I try many techniques like, okay, walk out, count to 20,
yeah,
come
okay.
back, try to talk to God, go to the God's room. But even though you walk out, you still have that anger in your head. And when you try to stop your brain, as you said, you have to practice our brain, but
Yeah.
it leads to that point that I'm not able to do that. But as you said in the earlier points, that we have to train our brain, so it comes from there.
See, you're saying that you're not able to do that, right? But but the thing is that you're not, yeah, go on.
But what happens is after that, I forget it after a few days, and then it just doesn't occur anymore.
Yeah, so it gets better.
Yeah, it gets better. You can
Right.
say that. You can
So you have to, so that's precisely the point, like your skateboarding idea or whatever it is. It gets better.
It gets better.
So in the beginning, it may be tough, but can you imagine there are so many children, if you're not thinking about that, if you don't have that traffic light system or some kind of system, if you're not practicing, there are so many adults, there are so many adults who they struggle, really struggle to control their emotions or really struggle to control an emotion like anger because they haven't been shown or taught the methods of the Gita. So for them, it's even harder.
Yeah. Arjuna was scared on the battlefield. What is the best piece of advice Krishna gave him to help him find his courage?
You know, in many ways, he wasn't scared like a coward is scared. He
Yeah.
wasn't scared for himself.
He was scared for his relatives, his aunts, and everything.
Yeah, exactly. He was scared for them. So he didn't need courage for himself.
He needed courage for them.
Yeah, he needed courage to do what his duty was, even though his duty was so difficult. So the way that Krishna helps convince him to do his duty, there are many arguments that he gives, but one of the arguments that I really like that he gives is that he says to Arjun that, look, you are saying that you don't want to fight this battle because you think that you will not be able to enjoy the kingdom.
Yeah, you won't be able to enjoy the kingdom because
After you've won.
Killed so many of your friends, relatives, aunts, teachers,
Exactly.
gurus, and everybody. So what's the point of the kingdom?
So yeah, exactly. So you won't be able to enjoy it. But Krishna says, I'm not asking you to fight so that you can enjoy the kingdom.
I'm asking you to fight to tell the world that the Kauravas are doing bad and we should not do that.
Exactly. I'm asking you to fight because it's the right thing to do. So that's a very different way. So like of thinking about the situation. So when you come to a decision in your life and you're thinking, should I go left or right? One way to think about that decision is to say, which one will I enjoy more, left or right? But Krishna's saying, don't think about it from the perspective of which one will I enjoy more. Think about it from the perspective of what is the right thing to do. in that situation. Because if you do the right thing to do in that situation, it'll be better for you, but it'll also be better for everyone else.
Yeah. You recently spoke at the Oxford about consciousness. How would you explain what the soul is to a friend, my friends at school?
I really like this little test, okay? It's not a test, it's a little exercise, yeah? So if I ask you, you can be the demonstration here for your friends. So if I ask you, point to your leg,
I will point.
okay? If I ask you to point to your arm,
I will point you.
if I ask you to point to your head,
I'll point you.
and if I ask you to point to your stomach,
Point you.
now I ask you to point to yourself.
I'll point you.
Yeah, but you had to think about that one, right?
Yeah,
You had to think about that one. And you had to think about it. And different people might point to different parts of their body.
Like sometimes my friend may point somewhere here.
Right? We don't know where they'll point.
Yeah, we don't know.
But what that exercise tells us.
Is that okay?
No, go on. What comes to your mind?
So many people have different meanings of the soul.
Yeah, okay. So and somebody may not even have that meaning of a soul, right? Somebody may not have thought about
What is the soul like?
what is the soul?
Yeah, what is the soul? I have a heart.
Exactly. So when we're speaking, we say, this is my leg, this is my arm, this is my head, this is my stomach, this is my me. No, we don't say that.
Yeah, because once I was talking to my friend about the soul. I was like, where do you think the soul is? I pointed here. He's like, no, it's over here.
Right, exactly.
Then we had a small argument and then we're like, and then we're like, okay, fine, we really don't know. We asked Google. Google is like, it gave maybe here, maybe there. So like, we really don't know what to say.
Google doesn't know either.
Yeah.
Okay. So, but the point is, regardless of where it is, you still feel like you are you.
Yeah, I'm me and I can't be anybody else. Like
You're not me.
Yeah, or I can't be my best friend.
Right.
I'm myself.
Right. So that feeling that I am who I am.
Yeah.
That feeling of what science calls consciousness, or what the Gita can refer to the Atman, or whatever, however you want to describe it. But that sense of me, that is the soul. That's the Atman.
Like we have a subject called wellness that helps in surrounding about us. We had an entire topic about I'm myself and I'm nobody else.
Ah, yeah, okay, exactly.
Even if I have a twin sibling, he's not me.
Right.
My brain is different. His
Right.
brain is different. Our fingerprints is different.
And do you remember in chapter 2 of the Gita, Krishna gives Arjun an example, and he says that when you were really, really young, and then you became a bit older, like a teenager, then you became an adult, and then you become an older person.
Yeah.
Now, you've probably seen pictures of yourself when you were a baby.
Yeah.
You've seen pictures?
Yeah.
Now, that body is completely different.
To how I am now.
How are you at? But when you look back at that picture, what do you think? What do you think?
I like feel a little bit of me like
Why is that?
because I think I'm like that because when I see videos of me now, I like kind of act the same as I was that time.
Right. And do you know all of the cells in the body change?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So there's nothing that's the same about your body then than is now.
Yeah.
But yet,
But your soul is the same however old you are.
so that's what Krishna is explaining in chapter 2.
Like in second grade, third grade, I was really naughty. I tried to change. I could change for like a week. But then and my body just came, my soul, like usually my naughtiness just came back to me.
So that's the idea. Like, like how do you explain the self or the soul or the Atman or the consciousness at a very basic level? And these examples, I feel, really make it quite clear that I'm not this body. I'm not even the mind. I am the person who's experiencing all of these things. So in that way, Krishna explains it to Arjun also. Is that okay?
Yeah. We have some more time?
Yeah, maybe one more question, because I have some questions for you.
Yeah. When you were 11, what was your favorite story from the Indian epics?
Oh, wow. I think at age 11, at that time, my favorite story was, yeah, must be the Ramayana. Because that's the one I knew quite well at age 11. Because it's a simple, it's relatively simple. Thank you so much, Samarth.
Yeah, thank you so much for being here.